I'm here with Leanne Knobloch from the University of Illinois, and Leanne's career has been spent studying relational uncertainty, especially how it influences the development of people's close relationships. So I'm going to have a conversation with Leanne today about relational uncertainty, and the first thing I'd like to ask is what drew you to studying relational uncertainty?
I was just fascinated about what people say and do when they have no idea what's going on in their relationship. There's been a lot of research that's looked at how committed people are or how satisfied people are, but we know less about what people are thinking about when they're not sure how committed they are. They're not sure how satisfied they are. And so it's always fascinated me what people say and do when they have no idea what's going on in their relationship. And those are pivotal moments in the development of a relationship. So it provides an interesting window into understanding those critical junctures and how people make sense to move forward when a relationship is progressing and moving.
Okay. And so why would you say it's important for scholars to understand relational uncertainty and to study it?
It's really important because it shares such close ties with people's communication behavior. Some of my research suggests that when people are experiencing uncertainty, when they're not sure what's going on in their relationship, it's really hard for them to say what they think. It makes it very face-threatening. People feel like they're putting themselves out there and they're vulnerable because they're not sure where they stand in a relationship. So it can be people can be very vulnerable and feel like there's a lot of identity threats involved. And not just that, but it makes it hard to process the information that's coming in, not just decide what to say, but how to interpret the messages coming in, because sometimes people are so focused on everything, they're really trying so hard to make sense of what's going on in this relationship that they can't sort of relax and enjoy the process. They're just so vigilant for any kind of clue that they have about where they stand with their partner. And so for all of those reasons, relational uncertainty is so closely connected to communication. In some ways it's debilitating, and so we need to understand more about the uncertainty process so that we can help people communicate more effectively.
Mm-hmm. And so what would you say are one or two really important discoveries that you've made in your research on relational uncertainty?
That's a really important question. Let me give you two.
Okay.
On a broad level, what I found to be really exciting is that uncertainty permeates all kinds of different relationship types. When I first started out on this issue, I was really focused on dating relationships because uncertainty is a huge a prominent issue. People are trying to figure out if this is going to be a life partner for me, if I want to be committed to this relationship. And so I started there, and that made a lot of sense, but it's been really exciting in my more recent work to see how uncertainty has really has important ramifications beyond just dating relationships as well. So you wouldn't think that long-term established relationships might not necessarily have uncertainty. You might think those partners have figured everything out, but that's not true. And part of the reason it's not true is because events happen in life that make people question things that are going on. So maybe someone in their social network gets divorced and that makes them reconsider their own relationship, or maybe they have a job transfer and so they have to move across the country and that changes things in their relationship, or external things, things that they never could have anticipated happen. So there's always events in life that have the potential to create uncertainty in relationships, and that to me has been a really important and exciting direction. Mm-hmm. Another thing that we found recently is that people who are experiencing relational uncertainty, they do less well in communication episodes. They perform less effectively. They are less effective in the kinds of communication that they offer to their partner. But the interesting thing is that they think that they are even less effective than they are. So when you have messages that are rated by outside observers, and then people themselves say how effectively did you perform this message, the people themselves who are experiencing uncertainty actually feel like they did a worse job than they actually did. So there's two levels going on. One is that people's messages are less effective, but then also there's something cognitively going on where people even think that they're performing less well than they did. So there's some implication there that when people are experiencing uncertainty, they're actually tougher on themselves and their communication performance than outside observers even would think so.
That's really interesting. So it affects the way they communicate as well as the way they think about how
Exactly.
they communicate.
Exactly.
Okay. And so with all these developments that you found, what's the next step for you in terms of understanding relational uncertainty?
There's lots of different directions for future research, and one of them is to really look at how uncertainties manifest in the linguistic aspects of what people say. So is it tied to interruptions or fits and starts or stammering, that kind of thing, really linguistically trying to figure out and what the word choice, the specific word choice that people are choosing. So
not just the tone of the conversation,
exactly,
but like specific
what is said,
verbal and nonverbal aspects of
That's a really micro level, but on a more macro level, it's important to understand how relational uncertainty is embedded in the dynamics of the relationship over time. So what is it about an uncertainty experience that I have this year that might have lasting repercussions for what's going on in my relationship maybe a year later or 2 years later? And so sort of at both the very micro communication level and sort of the more macro relationship development level, there's all kinds of interesting questions that await future research.
So as a communication scholar, what kind of practical advice do you have for students in terms of taking their degree in communication and finding a career or even applying what they're learning every day in this class to their communication on a daily basis?
My best advice is to be really confident and excited about your communication degree. One of the most fun things about being a communication professor is getting emails from students 2 years out or 3 years out, and they'll write and they'll say, the things that I learned about communication through my degree affect what I do in my job every day. So no matter if they're in PR or marketing or event planning or business or nonprofits, if they're a clinician, all of those ways they're interacting with people on a day-to-day basis. They're making decisions about how to craft messages that will help people understand what they do. They might be working with the public and trying to get that information out there. There's conflict going on in the workplace, no matter what kinds of department or unit you're working in. So in all of those ways, students are constantly amazed at how the communication skills they learn in a degree help them no matter what career path they have. And so in some ways, the communication degree is extraordinarily helpful because it prepares students to do all kinds of really interesting things, and they draw on those skills every day in the kinds of things that they're doing.
Well, thank you, Leanne. It's been really nice to talk to you and get your impressions about relational uncertainty. You can read a little bit more about Leanne's research in the chapter on relationship development in your textbook.